Hey, how's it going, folks? Happy Friday. You're with us live on Friday, May 29th, 2020 for our weekly Friday CiiRUS webinar. My name's Josh Parry, Chief Marketing Officer here at CiiRUS, and absolutely thrilled to join you all today for, I think this is our 9th or 10th week in a row now. Before we get into today's conversation and I introduce our panelists for the day, just want to kind of address where we're going with this webinar series. We started it to fill a need during the shutdown, and we very much focused on how we can bring content to you guys that's going to help you set up your business for success during the shutdown so that you can come out of the shutdown set up for success. And we're seeing some awesome case studies come out from our users who are telling us how their reopening is going. We know you guys are working extremely hard and just doing some absolute next level stuff with your businesses, and using the software to help you do that is extremely rewarding for us. So thank you to everybody who's been with us every step of this journey. And again, we're very proud of you all for weathering the storm and grateful for your partnership throughout the process. So with that being said, we've ended up with this really cool little situation here on the webinar, and we've got a great audience base built in. We've been focusing on kind of that fighting back narrative. What we're going to do is pivot a little bit to a what's next narrative. Vacation rentals, for the most part, in most of the major markets now are back open, or at least well on their way to reopening. Hopefully we'll continue seeing the kinds of numbers that we are seeing come through the network, which indicates a really strong rebound. But we want to pivot and focus on, now that we are back up and running in most places, how can we continue working together to support your businesses and deliver tools and education that helps you all thrive. So with that being said, today's webinar is going to be a little bit different. Leading up to the reopening, we dropped some really heavy content. We had some great content from Verbo. We had a blockbuster panel with loads of industry experts. We've had our extended demo last week of the Task Manager. We'll be doing a follow-up on that in this session. We had a big training session on the new texting features in CiiRUS, and so on. So today's conversation is a deep breath and a reset. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter conversation as we kind of take a step back and look at some of the customer success initiatives that we're taking at CiiRUS to help facilitate this transition. We're going to introduce you to some great new concepts and tools that we're working with here at CiiRUS to bring that transition. So without too much further ado, I'm absolutely thrilled to introduce our panelists today. As always, I have my co-host Brian, our VP of Marketing here at CiiRUS. How's it going, Brian? Happy Friday.
Hey, Josh. Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good. I'm excited for this panel. We're joined by Shalini. She's an amazing person. We'll do a formal intro to her in a second, what her and her team are doing. Just excited about what's happening in the industry. Depending on, different locations, we're seeing different types of trends, and we can talk about that a little bit. Panhandle has had an incredible restart to their business. The enormous amount of bookings that are going through some of those destinations. It's impressive. In some cases, record-breaking days. So I'm excited to talk a little bit about that. More than that, I'm excited to talk about some of the initiatives we're taking internally to make sure that our managers are set up for success. I'm going to emphasize a little bit about making sure that you guys are set up within your software to be able to get onto the channels, and see bookings come through those channels, and that you guys are prepared for the channels and the reservations that are going to be coming through. I think you're going to see them in very large volumes very quickly over the next coming weeks as we do more announcements. So really from my end, it's making sure you guys are set up for success again. You guys are going to keep hearing that from me over and over and over. And so I think today's conversation between all of us and with Shalini on here, we can touch a little bit on what that means and how we're going to go about that. So
yeah,
there you go.
And success is the name of the game. That's the big word today, because we have our VP of Customer Success at CiiRUS. Many of you know her and love her, and if you don't, you're about to. This is Shalini Bridge-Mohan, our VP of Customer Success. Welcome on, Shalini.
Hey everybody. Hey Josh, hey Brian. Thank you so much for the warm introduction. Truly appreciate that. So my role today, as you guys mentioned, I am VP of Customer Success. I manage and lead about 3 departments. data migration, onboarding and training, and then implementations, getting ready, getting connected to the channels for both Love Rentals and for property managers that want to exclusively list on the channels. So that's my role today.
Those are some of the biggest new initiatives that we're leading at CiiRUS, and you and your team have been at the helm of that. But let's, to start with, throw it back in time a little bit and do some table setting. If you can picture it, I was a young, fresh-faced lad around the age of 18 when I did my first ever consult at CiiRUS for a small paper and pen-based management company down on Highway 27 in the Orlando area many years ago now. And that first sit down I did for CiiRUS was actually a transition being led from paper and pencil at this management company onto CiiRUS by you, Shalini, working in management companies and leading them into new technology and actually doing that on the side of the management company. Before you joined the CiiRUS team, you've had a lot of wide varying experience and success implementing software, both as a property manager and now in CiiRUS, working on behalf of all the property managers who join our platform and maintain success on our platform. Talk a little bit about how that experience has informed the way that you've changed and implemented these new success initiatives in CiiRUS.
So I want to talk a bit about my background and go back 10 years. I've actually been in this industry for 10 years. 5 of those years I've been here at CiiRUS. Before I started at CiiRUS, I was at a large management company and I started off as a front desk agent. And then from front desk agent, I went into reservations, guest communications, owner communications. From there, I went into channels and then also accounting, like accounts payable, accounts receivables, owner statements, end of month process. Then I moved on from that management company to a larger management company where they were currently on Property Plus. Some of you may be familiar with Property Plus. So they hired me as the project manager to migrate them off of Property Plus to CiiRUS. And then that's when I met the CiiRUS team and started working here, starting with training. So I've curated the training program 5 years ago, working with documentation, also working on the support desk. And now, well, actually about a year ago, I went to Australia to roll out training our system in the Australian market. And now I'm here focusing on getting our users successful and where they need to be.
That is one heck of a story. So I think it's also a good story, you know, from my perspective. We've got quite a few members inside of CiiRUS, and I think this is actually what makes us pretty unique, is that CiiRUS is a technology company, but in order to be a successful technology company, we also have people that have grown up in the industry. And so being able to bring people's backgrounds in property management into the business and develop technology and resources for our property managers, it's given us a little bit of leeway over other softwares that you guys are seeing in the industry. We're not just software, we are property managers building tools for property managers, which is really, really cool. You know, taking a step back now, and some of the things that we're starting to put together with the customer success team is not just, you know, software. We're putting together different types of resources for our property managers, everything from landing pages, with content and information on how to onboard, emails, all the way down to some of these webinars, Josh. I mean, I think we've brought on some really cool people over the last few weeks to give our managers more insight on how we're supposed to be working with them, what kind of tools should they be looking at to make their companies grow or be more successful or set themselves up to just see more reservations if that's what they want. And you guys can basically pick and choose what we are making available to you and tailor it to your company. We're not, you know, saying you have to use this kind of stuff. What we want to do is give you the resource to learn and apply it as you guys see fit. So with that being said, you know, Shalini, we have touched on a whole series of different topics over the last few weeks, but one of the things that I was excited to talk about today is, you know, as CiiRUS, what does customer success look like? What have we put together for our property managers? And can you talk to us a little bit about what does it mean to have a customer success team within CiiRUS, and what does that mean for our property managers?
So, of course. So I want to start with the aim and goal of the customer success team. That is to truly keep our users happy, engaged, so that you, the users, are using the CiiRUS system to its fullest potential so that we can achieve your business goals. As a customer success team, we are super passionate about our system, and we love teaching our users, again, get the most usage out of the system. We like to get our hands dirty. We like to learn about your processes, and from that, we feed off of that and show you in the system how we can automate those processes for you as much as possible. I also want to mention that customer success is not the same as customer support. It's important to draw a line in the sand, and it's not just about solving the customer's immediate technical issues. It's about us going the extra mile to ensure that our users are successful and ready to grow with us for the future.
Yeah, and that's a great ethos to lead the team with, because piggybacking a little bit off of what Brian said was that, yes, we do have, of course, many of you know CiiRUS is a family company. We started that way many years ago, but now with over 40 staff on the team, we've developed a great kind of think tank of people who have been in property management companies and have property management backgrounds, like Brian said. But today, CiiRUS is not and has no intention of being a property management company. So while we have people with that experience on our team, you guys are the ones who the property management companies are the ones who have the day-to-day experiences in today's modern marketplace. So we lean on you to help us feed back to us what being successful means to you and how the software can play a role in that. And Shalini, you guys live that every day. So could you tell us a little bit more about what curating that experience for the customer means? It's obviously an ongoing project to develop that team to help. Give us a bit of insight into how that evolves and what customers can expect coming out of the department.
Yeah, building a customer success team is definitely an ongoing project. It starts from right here, our team. It requires education on our platform. It requires us learning from industry leaders. This industry is constantly evolving. And again, it starts right here in our office with our team. So what we do is we make sure our support and onboarding teams are trained in all aspects of the system, again, to provide better experiences to you guys, our users. We're always making efforts and creating and conducting internal training programs so that our team is constantly in the know of what's new in the industry and how we're developing tools, learning those tools in our system so that we can successfully roll it out to you guys.
That's awesome. And it's awesome for our property managers as well, because we're not just releasing products, which I think happened in the past there, way back in the day when I started with CiiRUS, which is they developed all of these tools and they put all of these resources out, and I wasn't really informed about how powerful the actual software is. And now I think a lot of our focus is we are going to develop really powerful tools for you guys. We want you guys to know about it, but we need to make sure that internally our team knows how to demonstrate that and teach you guys and onboard you guys the right way. And with this team and this effort, I think it's going to make you guys all that much more successful, which takes me into a little bit about how we do product development within CiiRUS and start to think tank about new products. So, we develop a lot of products inside of CiiRUS. We study a lot of products that are being released into the marketplace. And, I want to talk a little bit about how we release new products. What does that process look like, and how do we release new products to market? Is that, it sounds really simple. It sounds like something that's really quick and easy. We have a lot of requests from our property managers, but there's a lot of steps that go into product development all the way through to product deployment and then into implementation for you guys and getting usage. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So as customer success, our technical support team, we're working with the users every day. And throughout training, throughout implementation, we go through these processes in the system and we receive requests from you guys who are out on the field with that experience on how to make our system better. So we often receive requests, and every week we have a Dev Talks meeting where we sit down. training, onboarding, the team puts together all of the requests that we receive, rate them in priority order based off what's in demand from our users. And then we start the finding out, getting all those specifications, reaching out to those users that have requested, get the specifications, write those specifications up, send them off to our programming team, making sure our programming team understands those specifications. Then it is built into the system, and then we go into alpha testing. So we'll do somewhat of a hackathon, or we have a full testing team where we say, hey, this is the purpose of the feature, guys. We're all very much experienced in the system. We need to test this to make sure that this feature meets all of the scenarios in our system and in our market and industry. So after we're done alpha testing, then we're ready to do beta testing. So for those users that have requested that feature, or will simply put out an email blast to say, hey, we need some beta testers for this new feature. Would you like to volunteer? And then we take those volunteer users, they conduct the beta testing, they use it day to day, and then those confirm that those tests are successful. Then after beta testing, then we go into creating documentation and video tutorials. And once the documentation and video tutorials, which is the foundation of rolling it out, we conduct, again, going back to conducting internal training with our support, our success team, so that they feel confident and to train and support those new module and features. And then I'll throw it back to Josh and Brian for marketing and rollout.
Well, it's important to note that that's not just true for big features, but that is the exact process for every single feature release that we do, whether it's an upgrade or an update to some of our software, straight through new products like we were announcing last week, Task Manager. I mean, you can imagine the amount of work that went into testing something like that and making sure that the actual product works. So it's not, it's a long process, but it doesn't matter if it's something small or something big. That's the actual process itself.
Yeah, and you can cherry pick. I mean, you mentioned Task Manager as one example, which I'll hone in a second. But everything big, small, like you said, we did the text messaging announcement last week. You guys can, at the end of the webinar, I'll point you back in the right direction so you can go and look at all of the things I'm about to mention. But yeah, we rolled out new features to the CRM to automate your email and text communications with guests. Those are live now. Those all went through that process for you. Task Manager, as Brian mentioned, we did a great deep dive into Task Manager last week. That's all gone through the process, and it's just about ready. So I'm very pleased to announce that Task Manager that we walked through last week is going to go live and will appear in your CiiRUS accounts on Wednesday, June the 10th, first thing in the morning. You'll be able to get going, load in your templates, and start rolling out the Task Manager app to your housekeepers, maintenance people, and inspectors. So be on the lookout. You'll get a big email blast with all of the documentation, the video tutorials, and training resources so that you can get started. And we're going to be here to help you guys with support as you have questions diving into that product. So again, that's Wednesday. I hope it's a Wednesday. My calendaring is right here. June the 10th in the morning, you'll have access to Task Manager. So that's one big announcement. Brian, I don't know if I prepared you for this. I know there's another big announcement. Why don't you take the mantle and tell us what else is about to drop?
That is with a B?
Begins with a B.
Well, let's see. This one's, I think this is a big one. Booking.com, maybe? We have, this one's massive. So Booking.com is also releasing, we are cherry picking some of our property managers so that we can do some beta testing as well. We have done some significant tests to make sure that you guys are going to be successful on that platform. It's massive. It's awesome. It's going to add to your other two big channels. So this basically completes the big three. You've got Vrbo, Airbnb, and Booking.com to look forward to. Just pay close attention to how you onboard these units. If you need help, Shalini and her team, and then our onboarding team are going to walk you through that process. Reach out to us if there is interest, or send us an email, and we'll start to put you through to the pipeline to get you guys on board. But yeah, Booking.com is huge. I think we're going to see a lot of success coming out of that one.
Got to be a little bit different experience. Oh, Shalini, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I kind of wanted to piggyback off what you were mentioning about Task Manager, if that's all right. Yeah. I feel perfect. I feel now it's vital, more importantly, as we continue to work towards, I guess, what we are now calling it the new normal. The task manager is a perfect tool that we're releasing now to adapt to this new normal. So like you mentioned, Josh, it will allow you to create checklists for maintenance, inspections, and then again, more importantly, more than ever now, housekeeping. So I wanted to say a little tip. It's as we're reopening, now's the time to research the best cleaning materials, the best equipment to ensure that your guests feel safe and secure in booking your home. So maybe having a housekeeping team attend a training course to level up, and then using Task Manager, which is perfect now, to create those housekeeping checklists to make sure no nook or cranny is missed.
Yeah, absolutely. We've actually on launch with Task Manager, you guys are going to have some standard templates built into the system. So you'll be able to see examples put together by our expert team that kind of walks you through. You guys know the homes better than anybody else, so we can't make specific suggestions about what to do in each home, but we can kind of break down how we best recommend lining out all of these new requirements that you have based on your local regulations for cleaning, based on kind of the Verbo guidelines and the Safe Home guidelines as well. We'll kind of give you some loose guidelines that you can use and incorporate those into your housekeeping operations. So I'm glad you highlighted that, Shalini. And then also, I know we're dancing around a little bit. I just wanted to circle back real quick on the booking.com. But before I move back to that, Brian, did you want to add to the housekeeping thread?
Yeah, I think I echoed this, or I want to echo something that I said last week. To be successful on a product like Task Manager, don't go crazy, guys. This is a big platform. Keep it super simple to begin with, and then build out from there, because you can go crazy trying to build out an entire frame of work for all of your units and never launch, because there's so much that you can do. Keep it simple, find out what your core features are, what the core procedures are, get your people used to using the software, and then continue to build on top of it. It is one of those features that it's so powerful, and it's powerful and it's good for your company. Just take it in strides.
Yeah, well said. I kind of took for granted. We started looking at kind of the customer feedback that was coming in when we started looking to build something like Task Manager. In my brain, I'm thinking this is pretty simple things to add on to our existing housekeeping module, but it's actually it's a big suite of tools. You're going to see the documentation when we deliver the product next Wednesday. Really important to just I know time's difficult to come by at the best of times, but really important to sit down and kind of digest the documentation, watch some of those video tutorials, just make sure that you're really comfortable with that product and that your housekeepers are comfortable with that product before rolling it out into a live environment. It's kind of similar to what we talk about, what Shalini was talking about when we scope out projects. It goes through those different phases. I recommend, if you don't have kind of an internal standard operating procedure for how you adopt new features and how you ask your staff to use them within the business, totally recommend considering that. And if you do have troubles with it, our customer success team, as Shalini will talk about towards the end, will tell you how to get in touch. We do have request-based training sessions and some great documentation that you guys can give to your team to use as a standard procedure for adopting those features. So we'll throw it to Shalini in a little bit to talk a little bit more about how to get involved with the customer success effort. And we do have a few more questions for you, Shalini. Before we do that, I just want to circle back on booking.com, because I'm already seeing questions on this. The big question is when and how. We know that when we drop a big nugget like that on a webinar, we're going to get a lot of feedback. So I just want to be super specific. The how on booking.com is going to be really interesting, because it's a very unique channel. They have very stringent quality guidelines. So in the early stages, as Brian said, we're going to start by cherry picking some accounts that have been heavily requesting the feature to make sure that it works to their specifications. I think we have over 100, maybe approaching 200 live units on it now that are doing really well. So we're going to accelerate the opening up of that, and we'll eventually get to a point where we're inviting people onto that connection in mass. But just bear in mind, booking.com is super stringent with those requirements. It may be the case that we send you back with a guidebook saying, before they're going to let you on, you've got to follow these instructions because X, Y, and Z point of content needs some improvement. So that's something we're going to get to and dig a little bit deeper into in our next topic. The last thing I want to mention before we move on to those next topics is just the when with booking.com. as I said, it's we've got several hundred units already live, so it's up and working. It's just a matter of doing a controlled release on that. So stay tuned. Launch is imminent. We just need to give you guys some hard dates once we see those initial beta units completely out of the woods. But everything so far is going super well. So I would be remiss in not just returning to that topic and hitting some of the specifics based on the questions that we're already getting. So thank you for indulging me in the time to do that. Brian, I know you have a topic point to open up, so I'll throw back to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's in line with Booking.com, and part of the reason that we have developed Booking.com, which is, it's important to diversify our portfolios. And in order to diversify your portfolio, you have to have channels that you can distribute your units on. So it's never enough to just be on one channel. Shalini, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, how should property managers be thinking about opening up their units, getting their units onto multiple channels, and then basically what at a minimum, let's call it minimum viable product, how do they get onto these channels and get them up and running, and then what would it take to actually accelerate those units onto the other onto those platforms so that they do transact and be able to transact better than some of their competitors?
Yeah, kind of, it's exactly what you and Josh mentioned. As a property manager, it's good to expose your inventory to as many platforms as possible. So don't just limit yourself to Airbnb, to Vrbo. We have direct connections with TripAdvisor, want to now focus on Booking.com as well. So you want to, I guess, essentially spread your eggs among many baskets. So we've built a channel manager guide to help our users on, Josh, if you don't mind, you want to go ahead and show it?
Here it comes. Can you see it?
Awesome. Yeah, I can see it.
Perfect.
So if you can scroll down to here we have our partners, Booking.com. So in order for us to get your inventory successfully connected to the channels, I'll focus on Booking.com. Here we have this guide to give you a little facts about getting to know that partner. What are the supported features with our direct integration? And then what is required on a listing basis to, again, successfully connect the minimum criteria. And we do that in 2 stages. Going back to, if you scroll down to the minimum criteria, Josh, which is, there we go. So we have 2 stages. In the onboarding stage, we, again, want you to successfully connect and get up and running on the channels as fast as possible. So we break it up into stages so it's easier to process for you and your teams. So for Booking.com, similar to Airbnb, Vrbo, we try to keep it consistent as possible. Here you can see are all of the listing content that you'll need to populate. And this is a minimum listing content, again, to get live as fast as possible for revenue and then to be successful with the bookings. Then we go on to the second stage. After you're live, we'll go ahead and do an analysis on how you're performing on each channel. We'll do the same thing for Booking.com, and then what we can do to optimize your listings. Maybe we need to change the descriptions. Maybe we need to add tags to the images, things along that nature.
Well, that's a really good point, and it's something that I actually want to call out because I don't know that there are a lot of softwares that will take that extra step. In most cases, softwares just say, here's a tool, throw it out at you, say, okay, get loaded, will help you do some of that. What they fail to do is do an actual analysis of how your units are performing, and then walk you through the process of correcting some of those issues, going back, getting some of the descriptions, maybe your pricing structure, and helping you guys navigate how you should best fix some of those items. Our team internally is really, really versed on how we work on platforms. Part of it is because we have so many years in the industry working with these platforms and pioneering a lot of the connections. Another part of it is having a platform like Love Rentals within our software and part of our network, and working day to day on units with the channels from a completely different perspective, right? I think we're the only software in the industry that has an additional service tagged on to the PMS that can apply things like your revenue managers, your reservationists, et cetera, onto your units, which also makes it, it gives us a lot of insight onto how you guys are actually using the software, because it's forcing us to use the software, use the connections, and then also give our customer success team the feedback that we're seeing in addition to the feedback that you guys are seeing. And it makes it very relevant for us, our engineering and our product development. So overall, I mean, this is one of the first steps that we're taking, this type of documentation, to give you guys really good insight into how we're building out customer success and how Shalini is working with her team to bring this type of product to you guys and give you guys more insight into how you're supposed to use these channels. But it's important to also know that this is the beginning. So we're going to continue to build onto these tools. We're going to listen to you guys. And as we start to learn more and work with our partners and develop those partnerships, we're going to continually develop new tools, update these tools, and then serve it to you guys. So it's all done in real time, which is also really cool. There isn't going to be a lag. And each team's responsible for the different types of tools that we're promoting to you. Sorry, I went off on a tangent, but it's so important that you guys know all of this stuff.
It's an important tangent, and I think it also speaks to one of my favorite things about these free consultations for channels that the customer success team is doing is a focus not just on the quantitative analysis of content, but also the qualitative analysis of the content. What I mean by those two things, when I talk about quantitative, it's things like you must have X many pictures, and your description has to be Y many characters long. That's qualitative, or that's quantitative. When we talk about qualitative, and we look at what's on the channel guide, for example, and we dive deeper into this on the consults, but we do know anecdotally from data provided by these channels that there are certain things that they each tend to get more attention from in different types of guests. So we did a webinar with Verbo last week, for example, and we read, I won't quote the exact stats, I don't remember it, but it was the vast majority of Verbo guests are families, for example, right? Whereas with Airbnb, it may be usually a younger traveler. So the value of spreading your ads between the channels is you're not splitting the same pot of bookings between 3 or 4 different sites. What you're actually doing is tapping into new pockets of guests that you wouldn't be reaching if you were just focusing on 1 or 2 sites. But broadening up, you give yourself the potential to go from 65% occupancy to 80 or 85 or higher, because you're tapping into these new pockets of guests by focusing on those demographies a little bit.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Something that's absolutely key, guys, is that every single one of these platforms attract completely different types of travelers. People that are on Airbnb most likely will go onto Verbo, but they are still different types of guests. I can tell you, for example, Verbo's goal this year is to target family-oriented travel. That is their focus. So Airbnb, they're going to continue doing what they do. It's as big and as broad as they possibly can. They're going to attract different types of travelers. Booking.com is a good mix, but they come from a completely different geographic area, and they attract a different type of a traveler as well, a lot of business travel. So you're going to see different types of people. Like Josh said, it's important to diversify your portfolio, get in front of as many people as possible. And also, if they see your unit on multiple platforms, they're going to know that you're serious. You're applying marketing to all of these different platforms. It's going to give them consumer confidence, and they'll feel more comfortable to come and book with you guys.
I'm going to put you each on the spot real quick, and I'll start with Shalini. I'd love it if you can give 1 or 2 things, 1 or 2 kind of pitfalls in the minefield that sometimes property management companies don't maybe pay quite enough attention to when it comes to listing on channel management. Maybe it's a piece of data that often isn't filled out quite far enough, or isn't quite the right type of quality for that type of listing. Maybe name 1 or 2 things, Shalini, and then Brian, same from you.
So I'm going to be very simple. The simplest things can increase your rankings, such as taking the time to actually go through and specify what features that home has. So after you go in your home, you see what the inventory, what the features are of that home. That also needs to reflect in your CiiRUS system in order for it to reflect on the channel listing. So taking the time to check every feature off within the property assistant. Another thing that I notice users don't spend a lot of time on, and it's important that you do, is naming your images. When the guests go to search in on Vrbo, Airbnb, Booking.com, they're going to type in pool, they're going to type in Disney, 3-bedroom, mountain view in California. You need to take your time to really name those images with I guess, clickbait, so to speak. What are the guests typing in? That's going to be registered in the background of the channel with the images, and that really helps. So again, tagging the images with the features of the home.
That's done in the property assistant, just like the features, right? When they go to upload their image galleries, the property assistant, that's in there, correct?
Correct, yes. So when you click on the image in the property assistant, there's a box that says image title or description. So go ahead and click on that description box, and you can just add as many tags for that photo for the channel to register it.
Yeah, we'll put that in a landing page for you guys, as well as with the property features. That's a really good suggestion, Shalini.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian, same to you. What are one or two qualitative things that sometimes get missed?
I am going to the basics. Number one biggest thing, guys, is awesome photography. I don't care if you do anything else. If you have good, awesome photos of your houses, it's going to sell. Most people now, they read the first sentence or the second sentence. That's about it. But they'll scroll endlessly through your images. To break that down even a little bit more, if you have awesome images, the actual placement of the images is very, very important. So the order that you put your images in. Most people, and you guys need to think about this as a user, if you guys go onto Airbnb, Vrbo, even your websites, if you scroll through the first or second, or possibly even your third image, by that third image, if you haven't captivated your user, you've completely lost them. They've moved on and gone on to the second property. So you need to make sure that you are giving them a really good photograph at the front of the house. Make sure it looks nice, crisp, and clean. If you're doing an interior photo, feature things like your kitchens, a master bedroom, things that that are going to highlight that property and people are going to feel they want to actually stay at your unit. Make sure it looks super, super bright. If there's some cool pictures at nighttime that you want to do with, you've got special lighting on the pool area, take those images. I encourage you guys to use professional photography. There is nothing like a professional photographer that can come in and take some really cool shots. Again, I encourage photography. That's one of my number one things. The other thing is a good headline. Make sure your headlines are good. They read clearly, and you've got the destination pinpointed. A lot of you guys are missing things like your geocoding or your zip codes. It's not in the right place. Make sure that your address lines are properly tagged and your actual homes are situated in the right places so that people, when they do a search, they're searching in the right destination. They can find local things in local areas because they do that a lot. They'll find a destination and they want to make sure that your home falls within that destination that they're searching. So maybe that was more than two, but photos is number one for me.
That's absolutely awesome feedback. And I think mine, before we shift to the closing statements, I'll give you mine since I put you guys on the spot.
Yeah.
Super simple. I curate the reviews for CiiRUS, so I know a lot about this process. If you're not curating reviews, what I mean by that is seeking feedback from guests. You can do that automatically using the CRM and CiiRUS now with texts and emails. If you're not seeking feedback from guests and automating that process, you're missing out on one of the best surefire methods to A, gain repeat business from that guest because you got back in touch with them after they stayed, and B, use that guest's feedback based on the experience you gave them to earn new business. So every time you deliver a stellar guest experience, you're actually investing in your ability to have that guest become an ambassador for your brand. They go on Airbnb or Vrbo or Google and leave a good review. You've invested in that guest and now they pay it forward by leaving a good review for you. The TripAdvisor survey found 80% of guests read 6 to 12 reviews before choosing to book. So it's not just important that you have good reviews, it's important that you have reviews, period. So provide the good experience to get the good reviews and curate the reviews, request that feedback in order to actually get reviews on the site. And it's okay if you get a bad review or two. Not everybody is, no one's perfect, and people have bad experiences everywhere they go. If they catch you on an off day, or if maybe you didn't mesh with them well, sometimes personalities clash, and that can lead to misinterpretations and things like that. 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 reviews may not be perfect, and that's okay. That shows that you guys are a real business. You're human, and it's worth it. Potentially risking 1 or 2 bits of bad feedback to get 10 or 12 really good glowing reviews with accurate positive feedback about the stay. So that's my suggestion.
Such a good point. And actually, there are some studies that actually say bad reviews are also good reviews. And part of the reason behind that is that
I was just going to say that, Brian.
In a lot of instances, guests know that people can manipulate reviews. And so by showing that you do have faults, things happen, people understand that. They understand if you are showing those bad reviews that you're a real business, you're not sugarcoating everything. So it's a real business, things happen. I mean, if you guys are getting 8 out of 10 bad reviews, that's not a good thing. I'm not saying do that, but what I'm saying is bad reviews can be good reviews for your company. The other thing is, and we've spoken this in the past, but set yourselves up. If a guest leaves you guys a review, send them a reward, get them to book again. So this is a great opportunity for you guys to set up an automated message out of the system that says, thank you for leaving us a review. Here's a 10% discount. Guess what? That guest is probably going to be encouraged to book with you guys again.
Well said. Shalini, did you want to add to that? I think we got chopped up a little bit there.
Yeah, I think actually bad reviews, you can turn that into an opportunity. It shows transparency. Like you said, no business is perfect. Nobody is perfect. So what guests are looking at when they're reading the reviews, me, myself, as a guest or a consumer, is how did that property manager respond? Did they accept responsibility? Did they apologize? And did they come back with saying, what did they do to improve that and make sure it doesn't happen again? So I would take that as an actual opportunity for future guests to see, wow, this property manager was receptive, they apologized, and this is what they did to make it better.
And from a business perspective as well, Shalini, a good point is, as a business, we learn from bad reviews as well. We don't always want, if we're seeing 100% just good reviews, that's phenomenal. But, a lot of things that happen, we develop products or we improve things internally as a company because we get feedback. If we were operating at 100% satisfaction, I'm not sure that everything's 100% perfect all the time. So it's good to actually get some of that feedback so that we can fix internal processes. That's why we have a customer success team. We want to make sure that we're listening to you guys, we're touching base with you guys, we're bringing you guys new tools. That is the purpose of this whole thing.
Amen.
Absolutely.
So guys, we're going to go ahead and pivot to wrap up. And I'd love for you each to give kind of a summative closing statement. And we'll go Brian first and then Shalini. And Brian, in throwing to you, I want to acknowledge that we're dropping some heavy suggestions and feedback to a lot of businesses on this call who a lot of this is potentially new to, or owing to the global circumstances, overhead is an issue, and human capital time to spend on implementing these steps is an issue. In your summative statement, could you just talk a little bit about what you and your team are doing to kind of take some of those necessary steps? And what are we doing for people? There's a lot that we're doing, but specifically someone in that position who's not sure where to start or doesn't have the bandwidth. Tell us a little bit about that experience on the CiiRUS platform.
Sure. So I think very similar to the approach that we took with the customer success team, we took a very deep internal look at how our property managers were performing, some of the struggles that we were hearing in the markets. And as property managers, operationally from reservations to handling things like revenue. And there are a lot of holes. We asked property managers to do an awful lot of different things. And so CiiRUS decided about a year ago, and I wasn't with the company then, but I thought it was an amazing initiative, which is, we developed an entire team called Love Rentals, and that team is a customer success team at the end of the day. What we do is, we ask you guys to onboard with us, and then we bring a whole series of professionals and tools that we've developed internally. And so we apply things like our reservationists, our customer support team. We have revenue managers within the company. And basically, and then we have analysts that look at your properties, and then we distribute those properties to all of the channels. So essentially, when I was talking earlier about using CiiRUS and using connections, that's how we do it. We have, we're calling you guys and we're saying, okay, we know that you guys have limited bandwidth. You want to grow your businesses, or you want to maintain your business, or you just need a breather. You need some help to get out of COVID, or, you just need to take a break. We have put together a platform where you guys can approach us and say, you know what, I want to do what I am meant to do, which is manage the property, the structure itself. And I want you guys to handle everything else. I want you to do the marketing. I want you to do the distribution for us, the revenue management, and we'll work with you guys to figure out how you envision revenue management. And then we'll help basically set you guys up so that you can see into the future how much revenue you're supposed to generate, how you do that across the platforms, and then let you guys run with some of those tools. But essentially, it's that. We want you guys to succeed. So just like our customer success team, Love Rentals is there for you guys to come on board. And we're going to help you every step of the way to maximize your revenue and get your units on as many platforms as possible. I think you're on mute, Josh. The issue with technology sometimes is you put yourself on mute and you completely forget.
I think I need Love Rentals to unmute me sometimes, because they do just about everything else.
Yeah.
I'll work that in.
No, it's interesting. Love Rentals, just like customer success, it's a bit of a different approach. Again, something very unique to the market, but our customer success team does the other side of it, which is if you want to hold things really close to you, you have a good operation, but you need some help to get onto some of these platforms, or get onto some of the new software, or just learn about the software. That's what, the intention behind that platform is.
We're going to deliver some dedicated content about Love Rentals as well. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can reach out to us, and we'll put some details on the landing page about that. But we'll do some deep dives into some of those additional bonuses that come with the Love Rentals platform versus the independent channel management track that we talked about a lot today. So thank you for digging into that, Brian, and as always, excellent insight from your end. Shalini, as we wrap up, it's been amazing gaining all this insight from you and your team. I know that you are working hard, and your team of trainers and support specialists are working hard, developing procedures to help folks improve their operations and earn more revenue, coming out of these pandemic days and into reopening. So I love the insight. I hope the management companies on the call learned a lot from what you brought to the conversation today. Why don't you take us home and just give us some wrap up? How can folks get involved? And if it was interesting today, what's their next step?
So thank you guys so much for having me as a panelist on our webinars. Look forward to us, on behalf of the customer success team, look forward to us reaching out to each and every one of you. Again, if you've been on our platform for a long time, look at us. We're going to be developing new packages, analyzing your system, what we can do to improve utilization. If you haven't been on, if you're new to our system and still in the onboarding process, we are going to be releasing new roadmaps, breaking it up into bite-sized pieces, more on a one-on-one approach, working with you. And I'm getting my hands dirty with the team. We're developing new processes, and you'll hear from us soon.
Fantastic. Well, Shalini, you are. What's that?
We need a little closing statement for you. We always do one.
Closing statement for me is this, is that you guys hear a lot from our management tier on these webinars. We have our business leaders, we call them VPs, and there are about 10 of them out of the 40 to 50 staff that we have here on CiiRUS. You hear a lot from the VPs because they've been the most experienced with the boots on the ground in the industry for the longest time, but all of the programs that our VPs come on here and talk about, and that Brian and I talk about on these webinars, are underpinned by the dedication and the hard work of those team members. So when we come on here and talk about the customer success team that Shalini's built and leading, we're talking about Tyler and Justin and the channel management side of things. We're talking about Kyle. We're talking about our support reps. We're talking about Trey. We're talking about Leah and everybody. These guys are working really hard for you at property management companies, and You know, it's our goal, obviously, to provide a stellar service on a daily basis. But as you can imagine, it's been busy for you. It's been busy for our team. So I just wanted to, as we close, share some love for the team and let them know that as we gush over the programs that we're releasing, we equally thank them for the service that they bring to the property management companies, and we thank the property management companies for working as diligently as they do with our boots on the ground team, and you know, helping them learn more about the industry. We learn every phone call, every ticket that we open with you guys is a learning experience for us and for our line staff. So we appreciate that opportunity. I appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you again today on this webinar, and many more to come. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
With that being said, we're going to go ahead and sign off. If you are joining us for the first time today and you'd like to see more of the webinar series, we've had some great guests and some great products spotlighted over the last 8-9 weeks we've been doing these. So you can go to webinars.CiiRUS.com anytime. You can go back and view the full backlog of webinars and panels that we've had. We have some amazing content on there, hours and hours and hours worth. So settle in for some bedtime watching. Hopefully we don't put you to sleep too heavy, but there's some really good content. So again, you can go to webinars.CiiRUS.com to look back at that. There's some really exciting stuff there. Next week, same time again, Friday, I believe it's June the 5th, if my calendaring is right in my brain, we're going to have a panel focused on what Shalini called it a few minutes ago, which was the new normal for vacation rentals. We're going to be talking about you know, a lot of the topical subjects today in commerce, which is things like contactless check-in and keyless entry, and things just to build trust with guests who might be a little bit more conscious about who they come in contact with and the materials that they use in the properties. So we have a panel from some smart home solutions. I think Point Central coming on. We have Rented coming on as well to talk about data trends and pricing. We have Key Data coming on to talk about trends. I believe Key Data is coming on. I might be getting my wires crossed, but in any case, we have some excellent guests who will be joining us to talk about the reopening and give some tips on guest psychology in the new normal. So look out for that. Join us next week. And if you head over to webinars.CiiRUS.com, you can sign up for that and view the full backlog of content. So with all that being said, we are done for the day. This is Josh Parry, CMO at CiiRUS, thanking you for joining us. On behalf of Brian, VP of Marketing, and Shalini, VP of Customer Success, thanking you and signing off. Until next time. Have a great weekend, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye, guys.